Good morning. How's it going? Hey, Sister Alicia. It is 7:30 your time. It's always so much fun when you join me from California. Hey, Enid. Good morning. Hey, Carolyn. How's everybody doing? I'm drinking my coffee. I'm still waking up. I'm at the museum today. Instead of being on my back porch or in my backyard for backyard botanical art this morning, because it is cold outside, because it's December, and apparently, thankfully, we're gonna have like a real winter this year. So instead of trying to bundle up and freeze through a backyard botanical art on my back porch today, I came to the museum to work from the studio. But anyway, I'm glad everybody's arriving and happy you're here. Let me know if picture and sound are good. Hopefully they are. I think they are. We are doing poinsettias today. We're going to paint poinsettias just for fun. We're going to have a nice time, relaxed, enjoy some plants and some art. My sister's giving me a thumbs up, so I think that means she can hear me and see me well. Thanks, Alicia. Good morning to everyone who has joined. I'm happy you're here. My name is Laura. I work at the Museum of Fine Arts in Montgomery. And if this is your first time, I'm so happy to have you. We normally do this backyard botanical art live stream the first Saturday of every month from 9:30 to 10:30. I am taking a little break next month because it's January, and I think the first Saturday is something wild, like, I don't know, the day after New Year's or something like that. So also it's complete and total winter, so I'm gonna take off next month, but stay tuned. We'll let you know on Instagram and on Facebook and on our website, mmfa.org, when the next botanical art will be. All right. So today, in the spirit of all the different winter celebrations and change of season and different holidays that are going on, I chose to do poinsettias, which we typically associate with decorating for the Christmas holiday, because we're really familiar with the commercialization of the red and green complementary colors, which is what we see a lot for Christmas. And poinsettias, believe it or not, don't only come in red with the green. And I actually prefer them in kind of the creamy white colored ones, which this one broke off of my plant this morning, but how beautiful is that? I just love that color. And then I'm going to be painting more of a pink today. This is what I'm going to be working with. This gorgeous plant right here. Before we get into it, for the painting part, the art part, I thought that I would let you know some things about poinsettias. I think it's pretty common knowledge now. I remember the first time I heard it, I was a kid, and I was so surprised. But I think it's pretty common knowledge now that sorry, I'm trying to get myself set up to where I can see I'm distracting myself. I want to be able to watch myself on this so I can make sure y'all see what I want you to see. But where I was going with all of that before I got distracted, happy Saturday, good morning, was that, there I am. Happy Saturday. All right. There I am. Oh, now I have to turn it down, but I don't know how. All right. There I am. Turn it all the way down. Okay, now I can see what you see. Okay. The fun, cool stuff about poinsettias, y'all. Good morning. The colorful part is not actually a flower. we automatically see this, and we see the arrangement and how they're so cute, and they get smaller than the green leaves down towards the bottom, right? We've got big foliage that we assume these are the leaves, and this is the flower. That is not so. The flower is actually little tiny little yellow puffs in here, precious little things. And these are leaves, the colorful part here. These are actually just more leaves that are not green. And I did a little research because I was curious. I knew that fact, but I was like, oh, I don't know why. And it is a term called photoperiodism. So it's a little different than photosynthesis. And basically, they turn color, and this is why it's a winter, or what we associate as like a cold weather blooming plant or a thriving plant. They do better with less light. So as opposed to the photosynthesis process with more light that makes leaves happy on trees. With this poinsettia, which is like a shrub actually, again, we associate them as smaller because of how they're commercialized. There are so many cool facts, y'all. They're actually like small trees or shrubs in the wild. They are indigenous to Mexico and Central America, and they were first introduced like in the 1830s as a new species. So those are my fun facts. The last name of the person who sort of introduced them was Poinsett, and that is why they are called poinsettias. There. Any questions, class? I had a lot of fun finding out more about poinsettias, so I hope you enjoyed those little tidbits. If you have any questions, just type them in the comments, and I'll check it out. But I'm about to start painting after I drink a little bit more coffee. Hey, good morning, Brandy McDermott. How's Virginia today? Happy to see you. Happy for everybody's here. I don't always know all the names, so say hi to me in the comments if I haven't called you out, because I would love to say hi to you and know who you are and where you're watching from. I think that's fun to know. All right. So, as with everything, when we do botanical art, I'm going to break it down by the lines and shapes, and I'm going to work section by section. And so typically, if you've watched me before, I like to do the petals of a flower first, kind of work my way in or out. And so in this case, I'm going to do the colorful leaf part, even though it's not actually the flower or the petal. So, let me see what Brandy is saying. Gloomy and windy in Virginia. Oh, but you're decorating. Fabulous. Very nice. All right. Well, I hope everybody's having a good morning. I'm happy you're all here. And we're going to get started. I'm using acrylic paints today, since we're just kind of having fun. I'm not going to be quite as formal. I'm not like going to draw first. I'm just going to go straight into painting, kind of draw with my brush, my paint. If you have watercolors, if you're using colored pencils, if you're using just typical drawing pencil, charcoal, pastels, whatever you want, have fun, and it would still, break down in the same general way for how we're going to create the shape of the plant. Okay? So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Yes, Brandy, I know, Brandy McDermott, you get excited when we do acrylic, which makes me happy. Acrylic is my favorite. And let's see. That looks good. Make sure y'all can see that. All right. And just if you're curious what's on my palette, I'm going to be working with some titanium white, portrait pink, which is a favorite of mine. I use it in a lot of my paintings, especially of flowers. Some naphtha crimson, cad yellow, I think that's a medium, yes. A little hooker's green, just in case I need it. And I put some phthalo blue on here because it's my favorite, with adding some fun greenish color in there, some green shades. All right. Is anybody painting along today or creating with me today? Enid, you normally do. Not to call you out. If you're not, that's totally okay. But I would love to know anybody who is painting with me today, or drawing, or whatever you're doing. And I wanted to get it where you could see the poinsettias too, but my setup didn't quite work the way that I wanted. And I would rather you be able to see what I am painting versus my plant. So, all right, let's get to it. I'm going to start with a pretty stiff brush and just straight, and I'm working pretty small. And I'm going to start with some red. Why not? Let's do it. Just getting a little bit of paint on the tips of my bristles, nothing crazy, just so I can kind of draw with it. All right, Enid said she is creating along with watercolor and pink. Oh, a pink plant. Do you have a pink poinsettia also? Okay, so I'll show you since you're not going to be able to see it while I'm doing it, but I'm going to start, hello. I'm going to start, I actually think I might pick up one of these guys first, the slightly bigger pink leaves, to get that shape going. Okay. Remember when we're doing Botanical, you know, yes, this is a little bit more of a loose art class, but I'm still trying to represent what I'm seeing. I want to be accurate. And this, the great thing about these is this really is such a typical kind of leaf shape. You can't really go too wrong. And what I love about painting first versus drawing first is that I can totally just go back and repaint it if I want to. Don't have to be too precise. Like that got a little loopy, so let me pull it in some, and I can just cover this up later with some different paint. That's fine. So I'm gonna get all my general shape on here before I start filling in. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much for being here. You will find quickly that I just love art and I love plants and flowers, and this is for fun in a time when we still aren't really getting out and seeing people the way that we used to. And that is what I want you to take away from this, is being able to still connect with nature and in some way connect with people from the comfort and safety of your home. All right, so I don't see all the leaves that I know are there. So again, I'm not going to paint what I know is there, I'm going to paint what I see. And so there's some overlap here. There's one that's coming back behind it a little bit. Let me get that little guy in there. And then some little smaller ones. Let me just get where these are and I'll fix the colors later. I'm just putting in quick kind of place markers with my red, with my naphthol, even though these are not the colors they're going to be. They're going to be green and yellow. That gives me an idea of where my center is and what I'm working from. Is everybody having a nice transition to winter so far? I know it's not officially winter until like the 20th or 22nd, I think, of this month. But today is what, December 5th? And like I said, it's cold here in Alabama. So again, I'm painting as I see it, not what I know in my brain is there. And this is a sketch, just the same as I would be doing like a quick loose sketch with a pencil. Kind of what I'm doing right here with my paint. Coming along pretty quickly, coming together nicely. Good morning, Whitney. Happy to see your name up there. Hope you're having a good morning. We've got another watercolor, all right. So with the watercolor, are y'all drawing first? My watercolor friends, drawing, and then you'll fill in with your color? I'm just curious what process you're doing, if it relates to what I'm doing too. All right, I've got one really big leaf petal that's under this one, and it's gonna come pretty much most of over this full corner here. So I'm gonna get that painted in. Don't be afraid for your picture or whatever your object to go off the paper, off the canvas. That adds really cool depth and full, what is the word I'm looking for? Fullness to your composition. There it is. I think the coffee might be kicking in. Yay. Okay. And then there's one that's right here that I really want to get, and one that's over this way that I'll be able to play with later with the paint. Right now it's going to look really strange, but I'll fix it later. And one more right there. Let me just know that it's there. And one more right here, little guy. And then I've got one more large, colorful leaf over here coming down. All right. That is the start of my poinsettia, and I'm very excited about it. You know what? Another part is covering up one more leaf that I want to include for y'all. Sorry for blocking the camera twice, but I had to remove another leaf to look at it. So I'm going to paint it in because I think it makes sense for the composition. That one's not really going to be a focus, but I do think the plant needs it, so I don't want to lose it. Okay. Right now, hopefully you can see what I'm visualizing. I'm having fun. I hope you are too. And I'm going to switch over. I'm going to start playing with my portrait pink and the bloop, a little bit of white, and just kind of playing with the different values that I might find on these pink leaves. Is anybody else working in acrylics today? I know I've got several people, or at least two people that I know of working in watercolor. And I'm working in acrylic, as I said earlier, and as you've been seeing. Anybody else working in pencil or any other medium? I'd love to hear and know. All right, so let's play. So I'm mixing, like I said, some portrait pink and some naphtha crimson. If you're not familiar with acrylics, I will say they dry a little bit darker than they look when they're wet. So keep that in mind with how you're mixing your colors and what it looks like while you're painting. And the way I'm going to work this is the same way I would do green leaves if you've watched before. I'll just show you on this one. I'm going to be working from the center of the shape that I've created and then kind of painting out towards the edges, just like I would if I was doing a green leaf, because these are just pink leaves. So I come down a little bit and I'm going to work out this way. And I'm going to be working pretty quick today so that we have time to have fun and finish this. So it's not going to be necessarily as it'll still be accurate, but it's not going to be as perhaps realistic today as I would like it to be, as maybe when we're drawing or using color pencils or watercolors. But I want us to have time to finish and enjoy ourselves. So again, little things like that to keep in mind really help create the look of what you are painting. I'm going to use the cream one as an example because I can get it closer to you. But you can very clearly see the texture and the way the lines are horizontal down the leaf, right? Those veins of the leaf. And we are representing that by painting in the same direction. And so it already is taking shape and taking life from just that, as opposed to painting vertically. So I'm just going to do the same process on every single one of these little pink leaves that I've drawn or painted. I feel like I'm drawing right now. Yes, I'm using the same brush. That's another thing about me. If you've not watched before, I almost always tend to, once I get a brush going, I have to be reminded to switch brushes unless I'm doing something really small. I'll get caught up with one brush and just use it the whole time. This is overlapping, so I'm going to make it a little bit darker in here. Now let me know if I'm missing anything, if you have any questions or anything. And what's really going to make this pop, as we've seen with some other plants that we've done before, is when we add that green of the green leaves. Because as we know, green and red are complementary colors in the color wheel. They're opposite each other on the color wheel. And so they look really good when they're next to each other. They're just super aesthetically pleasing to our eyes. And I'm going to play with that a little bit more while it's still wet. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to move over to this guy here. Same process. Those who are using watercolor, I'll be very curious to see what kind of effect you get with on the petals, creating the texture. I might even do a wet on dry initially, and then I would come back with a cleaner, just damp brush and kind of play with that and blend it a little bit. If I was doing watercolors. Making great time. It's not even 10 yet. We're getting there though. And by all means, of course, if you prefer the red poinsettias, you should paint a red poinsettia. Or if you prefer those really cool kind of marbled pinky creams, which are also gorgeous, yes, I agree, do those. All right, so again, continuing my process and just kind of working my way around to each of the pink leaves. And I will play a little bit more with value once I get more of them done. Oh, thanks. Thank you, Brady McDermott. I'm glad you're loving it already. Let's see where it goes. So I started this one kind of pink, but in reality it is a little bit darker in comparison to the other leaves in its redness. But the other cool beauty of the fact that we are doing kind of a floral art piece today, not necessarily so strictly botanical, is that you do have your artistic license that you can use to change it up. I'll add a little bit of darkness in here. And when I say add darkness, again, I'm just currently working with two colors. I'm doing Portrait Pink and Naphtha Crimson. That's fun. I like that. All right. And these are much darker. The little guys in here, they're not really fully open yet. I'm going to add a little bit more depth to them later. I just want to get the color on them right now. Make sure I've got their place right. Doing a little bit of a thicker application of paint there. Okay. And then I've got these last ones back here before we keep moving on to some details. I hope everybody's having fun. The more I've done these live streams, y'all, the more I have found that I understand why Bob Ross always repeated the same things over and over again for his recordings. Because you just want to be encouraging. When you're in person, you have conversations. People ask questions. When you're doing this for a camera, you just keep saying what you want people to take away from it, which is joy, enjoyment of making art and looking at plants and thinking about plants. At least that's what brings me joy. Sorry if my hand was in the way there. I wasn't really thinking. Just painting. Again, if you get your shape a little mixed up, or if you get outside the lines or whatever, don't worry about it, especially if you're doing acrylics. You can paint over that or adjust it. Easy to fix. All right, two more. This one is a little pink and it's turning, so I want to represent that. Pink here. And this one is kind of folded over. I want to make sure that I get that represented well. Start. I'll play with that some more. And then last little one back there, and we can move on to adding some green so we can actually get an idea of what is going on here. I mean, I think it looks like a poinsettia, but I'm also the one who's making it. I know what I'm making. All right. That one is just kind of there for composition, so I'm not as worried about making it look precisely realistic. Okay. I'm going to rinse off my brush, and should I change brushes, y'all? I guess I will. Why not? Why not? Still working in the same size family though. But I'm gonna go to my green leaves now. Thank you, Brady Morrison. I'm glad you approve. Are you getting to create anything from where you are? I hope everyone who has joined us is having a good time. If you've joined us recently, let me know if you're also going to create along or if you're just watching for fun. I'm happy you're here either way. All right, so I've done the pink leaves of my poinsettia plant. I am saving my little flower parts for last because that's where it's going to be more green and yellow, but I'm holding off on that. And so right now I'm going to start kind of filling in the rest of the composition around it. I'm not going to paint the entire canvas, but I'm going to get that complementary green with the green leaves in here to make the other part really pop. So again, since these pink things that we think automatically are part of a flower are actually leaves, I'm going to be working with the same shape as we were for those. I'm just going to be using green now. And again, I really do want this to be my focus, so I'm not going to be spending, not that I spent much time on these, but I'm not going to be spending even as much time on the green parts. I just want to get the idea that they are there. I want them for the color benefit. So I'm just going to come in and paint them quickly. Now, I will come back probably after we're done with our live stream and touch up some of these greens. It's got a little bit of a less opaque, more of a transparent application, and I'd like it to be thicker than that, but not my focus. But you can already see, oh my gosh, just by adding green, how it brings this together. It is so much fun. I'm making a little bit of a darker green by adding some phthalo blue to my hookers. And that's just, I'm just kind of trying to play with some depth in here. I know that back here is where my darker shadows are, so I'm going to have some darker greens. Oh, sweet Whitney, I'm so glad you're watching. Whoop. Hope that didn't interrupt too much, y'all. I had to pause for a second. I was getting a phone call, but I made it go away. The joys of us doing everything by live stream right now, huh? And from our phones. But Whitney, I was saying, thank you for watching and just listening along, even as you diligently do your work. All right, and then I'm also gonna do a little bit of my cad yellow with some of this hooker's green. Because again, you gotta remember guys, green, there are a gazillion greens, and the best way to make something look a little bit more realistic is to get different greens on there, especially when you're doing plants and trees. So many greens to be seen and to be made. There's another plant, another pink part of the plant right here. I really don't want green for my composition. I like the way that mine is coming together. I'm very happy with. So I'm not going to add much more. I'm going to move on to my center here. And then once these have dried a little bit more, because I think we're going to have time, I will be able to play with the color a little bit more on them. So keeping this green that I just made, this is a yellow green. So it's a cad yellow and hooker's green together. I'm just going to go back to where I did these initial little blobs of red for the center which are actually the flowering parts of this plant. They are dry now because acrylic dries very fast, and I applied the paint very, very thinly. And I'm just going to go right back on top of them, keep them kind of ovular, and get my green on there. There's a few more I didn't paint, so I'm going to get those in there too with a little bit of a darker green. Give it a variety to create that depth like we were just talking about. So much fun. And y'all, when I was researching and finding out more fun stuff about poinsettias, I will tell you that they do not really attract pollinators because the little flowers down there are so kind of unassuming. Basically, bugs don't really see them because they're so little and tiny down there. All right. I'm gonna just give this a little bit more depth by taking some of the, just a little smidge of the hookers on the tip there and working on the different shapes. Let me see if I can zoom in for you a little bit. How about that? Hopefully that helps. So I'm going to be working to just kind of add a little bit of depth on these. So I'm not painting over the whole thing. I'm just picking one little part of each of them to create a little bit of a darker green on it, to make them feel a little bit more rounded with some value change and depth. And then what I'll actually do is come back with my lighter green or even a yellow right on top of that, to again create a little bit of like a gradual change in the value or gradation. Oh, bye Brady McDermott. See you next time. Hopefully, we'll see you at Art Talk on Thursday if you didn't already leave. Anybody else who does not normally attend or has never attended our Art Talk discussions, they are a lot of fun. You can email me at lboquin@mmfa.org. That's LBOCQUIN at mmfa.org. And we have monthly, used to be in person, currently they are virtual, obviously. Really friendly critiques where artists are able to, I'm mixing some more green, y'all, where artists are able to share a work of art. Currently we do it as a virtual PowerPoint, and we just kind of talk about it. We talk about what we think about each other's art and give any pointers if we think the artist needs any, but really normally it's just like, wow, that's beautiful. I love what you've made. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit of my yellow-green here, right on top. It'll take a few layers when we're adding yellow. So I like to get a really good thick application if you can. Something you wouldn't normally think of, but get it really good on there with the paint. And just touch the tip of it to make it go dot, dot, dot. If you're interested in joining for Art Talk, our next critique is this coming Thursday, December 10th, from 6 to 8 p.m. And it'll be a Zoom meeting. And like I said, just email me and I'll send you the invite. Would love to have you. All right, I'm backing up just a little bit. I feel like that needs a little bit more definition, but at the moment it's not going to pop. If I keep trying to add it, it's just going to keep blending. So I'm going to take a break from that. And I'm going to step back for a second and look, which is always a great thing to do when you're creating. get a feel for where you're going and where you want to go. Make sure that it's in the right direction. Think about what you want to do. While I'm doing that, I'll say next Saturday, December 12th, we've got Local Artists Live. That's a week from today, from 10 to 10:30 here on Instagram also. And we are actually starting a special series, or a special part of the series, kind of a sub-series, if you will. Local Artists Live Birmingham edition. And our first Birmingham artist is going to be Darius Hill, who, if you are not familiar with, trust me, you want to tune in. And if you are familiar with him and his work, you already know that you want to tune in. So Darius Hill will be our featured artist next Saturday, December 12th, on Local Artists Live Birmingham edition. That's from 10 to 10:30 here on Instagram. How's everybody doing? How are my artists who are painting along with me? How are you doing? All right, so what I need to do, y'all, I'm enjoying this. I do like this, but I want to make this pink leaf pop. It needs to pop. And I want to clean this one up. And then I want to come back with my details here. So we've got about 15 minutes left, which I think should be perfect. And I'm going to make sure I get this one done. She's my priority. She's my focus. So I'm going to do that right now. And the way that I'm going to do that is by making some lighter values to pull in. So I'm going to do a little bit of white with my portrait pink. Make a tint. Open. I'm going to go back to my other brush because I prefer it. Oh, Erin Gainey is here, and Cheryl. I'm able to stop and actually look and see who all has joined us. Hi, everybody. Happy you're here. Why is my sister talking about banana bread? Did she leave too? Now I want banana bread, Alicia. Can you bring me some? Thank you for tuning in. I love you. All right. So this is going to be way too light. Don't get carried away. I can get very carried away very easily when I make a tint. That's not what I want. That's what I want. And I'm going to come back, like I said, in the same sort of way that I did the initial application of paint, working from that center out like you would, or like I normally do with leaves. But I'm not going to do it all over it, okay? So I'm going to work really quickly again and just kind of get that on there. And then I'm going to come back with my darker value and see if I can't get them to blend in a little better, okay? So we went from looking like a leaf to looking like a feather, but don't worry, we're gonna make it work. All right, and so now I am mixing a little bit of green with my naphthol to make this kind of mucky mauve-y, which is what I want for these veins. I'm just gonna play with that a little bit. Adding some depth over here now that I've got my super dark value. A little over here. All right, before that dries, I'm gonna get my brush kind of clean and dry it off. And I'm gonna go back and just kind of blend those. got a little too light, I think, with my tint. I do know it'll dry a little bit darker, but I think I would come back with some of a little bit stronger portrait pink and a little less white to play with those. But honestly, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. All right. So I'm doing a little more portrait pink with my naphthol. I'm just going to come back and soften that a little bit more. Where it got a little too heavy. I wanted to clean this guy up too, so I'm going to do that right now. Which this one was more naphthol, less portrait pink. All right. And then now I want to go back to the center and fix these before we end on the little delicate tiny yellow flower bits that are in the middle of the plant. I see, Alicia, it makes sense now. You were just letting me know what it is that you're making. I'm sure your banana nut bread is art, Alicia. All right, so again, to make my really dark, kind of deep, muddy red for my values, I'm doing a little bit of green with my red. And I'm gonna go in here to some of these guys to add that darker shadow that's in there. Not a lot, I'm just kind of barely touching my brush in there to get the idea that they've got some depth in them. This guy needs some too. We're getting pretty close to being done. How are y'all doing at home? Enid, how's your watercolor? My other watercolor participant. I apologize, I cannot recall your name. Please tell me what it is. How is your watercolor coming? All right, so I'm gonna take nice little point to point here for my final little touches of yellow, green, and yellow for the center on the flower. So I'm going to zoom in so y'all can see this. It's going very well. Great, that's great. Ashley, is your name Ashley? Let's see. All right. Okay, Enid, I'm glad that works for you too. Enid, I use that with flowers, especially like with red roses, and it works like a charm. Just so you know, if you ever wanted to do roses, that red and green mixture is the trick. All right, so I'm taking a little more yellow and just layering it back on where I've already done yellow, because like I said, the yellow needs several layers to really pop. Yes, Ashley, wonderful. Now I will know and embarrass you by calling you out every single time you join. But please don't let that keep you from coming back. And I kind of want it to be like I'm sponging it on, because they are little tiny fluffs, if you will. Fluff is a technical term. Yes, it is. All right, so I'm happy with the yellow, and I actually want to make some darker greens to get the depth in there. So I'm going to clean my brush off and working with the same point, I'm going to come in here almost kind of like a little pencil and just add some ideas of depth in here. Again, I'm not painting over it, I'm just kind of giving a little bit of a circular shape or dotting it in some places, not everywhere. We don't want it everywhere. Now I'm stepping back and just kind of seeing where else I might want some really dark blue. Sorry, dark green. I'm using a dark blue with my green to make it a blue-green, a nice deep green. A little more here. This one's a little bit too bright for what that value should be. We are at 10:22, which gives us about 8 minutes. I think overall I'm pretty happy with that. Here, I'll zoom all the way out, and we can actually talk to each other again. Hi, everybody. Everybody having a good time? I think we're essentially done, or I'm essentially done. Again, this is just kind of a fun day, making some stuff that you see everywhere. In the wintertime, because it is one of the plants that actually thrives in the cold weather. But I hope maybe you learned something that you didn't know about poinsettias, because I think that's always fun to find out things about our natural world that we didn't know. And if you were making art, I hope you had fun creating with me today. And if you were just watching along and enjoying, then I hope you did enjoy while you're watching along. This is not a Starbucks plug. I should have put a thing over this. I just really needed coffee this morning. Thank you everybody for being here. Like I said, next Botanical will probably be in February. I'm not gonna have one in January, just because with it being winter and extra cold and things are kind of, dormant because it's winter. But I will let you know. Stay tuned for when our next Botanical is. And next week, make sure you tune in here on Instagram for Darius Hill, who will be the featured artist on Local Artist Live from 10 to 10:30. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you've had fun. Any questions or any comments before we log off? I see a heart of love. That makes me happy. Well, I hope you guys have had fun. I know I have. Have a wonderful winter season, and I'll see you next time.